Hey, everybody. I just
Good
realized
evening.
like how like disheveled I looked when I saw myself in the camera here.
I haven't seen you yet. Oh, there you are.
I'm a mess. Sorry, it's just, I just put my kids to bed.
You don't look that disheveled.
A little bit I do. I have this is like my not like I don't leave the house in this hoodie. This is, I'm purely like relaxing at home.
Well, is this the first stream in forever that we aren't going to apologize about no PS2
That's
episode?
what it seems like. That's what it seems like. Yeah, today was the big day. Today was the
Yeah.
big day.
We were almost scared for a moment.
Oh yeah. Because it got flagged for like limited to no ads.
Yeah. So we're like, okay,
We
what
were
triggered it?
panicking. We were
And we couldn't
panicking for
figure it
about
out.
5 minutes, probably.
Say what?
We were panicking for about 5 minutes, and you're like, could it be that quick Rumble Roses shot at the end?
Yeah, but we got to go away pretty quick, so
Yeah.
that was a relief. But there it is. It's out there, out in the wild. It was this episode. Like the total runtime was optimized very heavily because originally it was going to be like around like I want to say the original runtime when I got all of our audio strung out was about 107 minutes or so.
No, not a.
Or not 107, an hour and 7.
You'd still be working on it for a while longer if it was nearly 2 hours.
No. It was an hour 7.
Yeah.
And then it just got further and further optimized over time to where it's like 58 something now.
Yeah, it's almost 59.
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
your big goal throughout the whole thing was to get it shorter than the Game Boy episode.
yeah, it was something that gave me hope, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I love the PS2. I mean, I wouldn't say there is any system I dislike, but to make an hour-long video on the Game Boy and an hour-long video on the PS2, I mean, there's no comparison. The Game Boy was much more. I was just much more engaged during the whole process. Like it was just like it's always like moving on to something different. You're on the original GBA, and then you're on the SP,
Mm-hmm.
and then just moving on and on and on. There was always these new things, and I'm admittedly a bit of a Nintendo fanboy, and it hit my heart a little more. I was just really into it. The PS2, I love the PS2, but it didn't have as much of that compelling effect that Game Boy had. But at the same time, I will say, in a similar way, the Game Boy for a long time was a system that I played it as a kid, but I never like really thought. Maybe for a brief time I was really into it as a kid, but then when it was passed, it was like Game Boy, whatever. That's Donkey Kong 94 and Link's Awakening, and that's about all the really good games. But then like over time it really kind of came back around for me, and in the past several years I really got into it, and maybe the episode I really got into it. And I would say, in a sense, a similar thing has happened to the PS2, especially because I knew I was going to be working up to editing this episode.
Right.
And so I was starting to try to beef up my library a bit. And
yeah, you were buying stuff like even like when we were in Los Angeles for shooting Night Trap.
It still wasn't enough. Like I was so sick of the PS2 games that I had.
Yeah.
By the time that I was done with it, so sick of them. But yeah, and also especially since I've been trying a lot more PS2 stuff on the PVMs and other CRTs, like really giving me an appreciation for the system. So
right.
I'm really sick of it right now, but I feel like its place in my heart has grown too.
Yeah. I mean, it was important, I think, for us to show like a variety of games, especially since, the PS2 is the best-selling console of all time, and everyone has like their favorites.
Just this ridiculously broad library.
Yeah, and I mean, they have a lot of stuff in there that's only in the episode for one shot, and there's a lot of stuff that that you used, reused certain things for comparisons, but that's because that's what you had on hand. And even
Right,
then,
and
we were both using like you were using like the free McBoot, and I was using like OPL to like
yeah.
load up stuff.
Yeah, there were certain things that could have only been done with free McBoot because, for example, I was able to show the difference of the Japanese version of Tekken Tag and the American version, and how they um, upgraded the field rendering resolution, which is a pretty interesting difference. Same thing with Virtua Fighter 4 and Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution. There were just a lot of things that we could only show that way. Plus, it helped increase my stock of 480p games, which I don't have a whole lot of.
Right.
So there were a few things, but honestly, I think it's so inconvenient to use that in comparison to just using the actual disc, in my opinion. But it definitely expanded what we could do a fair bit. But yeah, it's a relief to be done with that. I had thought that I might start Mario Odyssey today, now that I'm finally free, but I still haven't because I'm just kind of out of it. I'm
yeah.
kind of tired.
You're like shell shocked a little bit after it.
And the day has just been kind of weird. Do you ever have when especially if you finish a project maybe like really late at night, do you have like nightmares about like something being wrong with it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, all the time.
I have like these, like the thing is, it's like not even like it's like almost like a waking nightmare. Like you are aware that you are like in bed.
You mean like like sleep paralysis?
Like
you realize something's wrong with it.
Yeah.
With the project, but you're like you have sleep paralysis and you can't get up and fix it.
I wouldn't say it's like I wouldn't say it's like sleep paralysis, but it's like I'm aware that I'm like tossing and turning in bed, but I'm also like imagining like a problem that doesn't even exist.
Yeah, well, I mean, you had spent so much time with it. I mean, I tweeted about it earlier that you've been like living this.
Yeah.
For like the last month.
It took me so long to get into my groove with it, really. Like I mean, I think I was really intimidated by it for a long time. And it took a lot longer to go through the testing and research and writing phase than I expected. And then, at some point I realized, oh my gosh, this is going to be so much longer than I thought it was going to be.
And that really is like a kind of a blow to you too,
And so I actually checked either last night or this morning. The day that I made the folder for my on-camera bits, which I really consider like the beginning of the production / post-production.
Right, but I mean that doesn't even consider like that you were working on the script for. Had to been like yeah.
And I was editing for, it looks like just right about at a month and a half. So this comprises roughly 3 months of work,
right?
At least.
Yeah, and I see some mention in the chat about having Digital Foundry, John from Digital Foundry, on there, which was something we kind of kept a little secret, I think.
Yeah, we thought that'd be a fun surprise.
Yeah.
I what made me feel like that had a place in this episode. I mean, for one, I knew that John, is a real big fan of like the PS2 hardware. Like he just, he kind of rambled on to me about it once, and he loves like how just the especially the retro systems, just how they work. And he was telling me about field rendering, and I thought, well, that's really interesting. Like, do you want to do a segment about that? And then I realized, well, that might be like not a significant enough of a point. So why don't you talk about that, but just anything else that you think is interesting about how the PS2 hardware works. And it really, I think, gives this perspective of, it was, developers, it was like this open-ended thing that if you were really smart, you could make it do anything you wanted. It didn't have necessarily the hardware functions that made certain tasks easy like the Xbox or GameCube might have had. But if you could do just about anything in software that you wanted because it had the bandwidth to do it.
Yeah.
You just had to be smart enough to make it work. But the reason I thought that it had a place in this episode was, it's probably like 15 minutes into the episode before we even talked about video cables, which is pretty significant.
Right.
And I was a little worried about that, like taking so long to get to video cables, because that's what a lot of people think this is about, video cables. But at the same time, I thought the bigger problem with PS2 is not really what cables you're using. It's like, it's the signal, it's the resolution, it's the look of the games, and how that's handled on various displays or various upscalers or C versus a CRT or whatever. And it's appreciating, here is the look of game that is on the PS2. Here is what could be done with it. And so I thought this episode is almost as much a PS2 appreciation thing. It's more about building up like positive feelings about the PS2 hardware first, and then where do we go from there to work with it.
Yeah. I mean, and like the 480i stuff had to be addressed at some point, and this was the best place to do it. Is just
because it's the only system where 480i is like a huge deal. Because I mean, I think that a majority of GameCube games don't support 480p, but a majority of good GameCube games support 480p.
Yeah.
So it's not, even on GameCube, it's not a huge issue. And Xbox, I think it's even less. I think there's even very few 480i games on the Xbox, to my knowledge. But I don't have a great breadth of knowledge of the Xbox library. You know much better than I do. But yeah, but yeah, I thought it was a good episode to do 480i, and it was interesting how much of the episode I had to shoot, with my camera set to 60 frames per second.
Right.
Because I had to get that look on the CRT, and I think the only place in the whole episode where you can see a refresh line is on that one shot of Baldur's Gate, the one that has the character select screen.
Oh, yeah.
If you look at the very tippy top, you can see a bit of a reddish hue. That's the refresh line. I think that's the only time it snuck in. So I think I did pretty good on getting that. Man, that game looks great too. I really want it now.
What? Urban Rain? Oh, Baldur's Gate. I was gonna say, even watching the video feed, I haven't seen. I should actually start the game just because we've been at this for a little bit. So I'll go ahead.
So you grabbed a shot of this running with Bob deinterlacing on the OSSC.
That's right.
And I was like, this game looks kind of good.
It's definitely like a product of its time, like in terms of like the style and like the, like the badass narration and stuff.
Uh-huh.
But, let me see if I can start. It has a whole bunch of unlockables. I don't know if it takes place in the same world as Tekken, because it has a couple of Tekken characters are unlockable in this, but it has a really cool kind of like battle system. It's kind of a brawler, but with a 3D Tekken battle system, I guess is a good way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw it, I'm not a huge brawler guy, but I was just like, this looks really fun for some reason. And if you had just shown it to me, I immediately would have thought, oh, this is, just some EA game or something. But this is Namco. This is a Japanese game, not what I would have expected at all.
Yeah. I mean, it seems pretty cool.
I see Final Baton talking about Final Fantasy X and how good it looks on a CRT. I thought it was a really interesting comparison in the PS3 section. I had a few shots from the Final Fantasy X opening, and you can really see in those shots, I think, just what the smoothing does on the PS3. It's like what I really looked at a lot in shots when I was testing out the smoothing was characters' noses.
Yeah.
Like close-up shots of their noses. Like there's this one shot of Xenosaga 2 And Chaos it's sort of a close up of Chaos's face. Like if you especially look at his lips and his nose, like you can just see night and day difference, in my opinion. The Jaggies. I think it's crazy.
The Jaggies.
The Jaggies.
There's a lot of games, including like Way of the Samurai is a game that I've never played. I see Retromania in the chat's talking about it. I've never played it. I mean, there's so many games that we probably should have like put in there. I wish that
Yakuza. I don't think there's been any comments about like what no Yakuza, and I was, I had hoped to get a clip of it, and I forgot. Like I've never played the Yakuza games,
right?
And I feel like that's something that a lot of people have like a strong love for on the PS2, and I like to include a variety of games just for entertainment value, because people aren't always watching these videos just to actually find out how to get video quality. They just want to learn more about the system and see a bunch of games for a system they like.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are just people watch just to see what we show a lot of times.
I guess this looks like it might be the fight coming up that you that I took the clip from. I was a little nervous because there's the street light flickers, and I was nervous that would look like the OSSC screwing up or something. But I thought it was a good clip, the way that like you beat the guy, then you like pick him up and fling him down on the other guy. I mean,
yeah, it seems like the fights are very context sensitive in this, which is pretty cool.
Torgo Gorgo is talking about Suikoden 5, which it's really disappointing that I kept trying to think, why don't I have a Suikoden 5 save? And the reason, I believe, is because I think I played through it on my PS3, which that PS3, as I said in the episode, died. And so with it, I think I lost, a number of my because at the time I only had one PS2 memory card. I've been living off one PS2 memory card for a long time. I had a lot of games backed up on my Final Fantasy XI hard drive on my PS2, and I
look at it. It's pretty brutal. Watch on the stream, like if you can see, if you saw me like throw this guy down.
I mean, it just looks like it's like not like Dynamite Cop over the top brawling, but it's like right on the threshold,
Yeah.
It's like I don't know. I think it looks really fun. Is it co-op?
I don't know if it has co-op on it. It seems like it would, but I don't know.
I mean, it seems very story driven, so that leads me to think it might not be. I mean, I just think it's a good-looking game.
Yeah. I mean, stupid would be appropriate. Like it's a stupid game, but
yeah, but it looks
fun.
in
a very fun way.
Yeah.
What were you saying before?
And I think that's in some ways where the PS2 shines, because a lot of games, like I haven't played God Hand, but I feel like God Hand would be a good example of like a game that was reviewed really badly, but then developed this cult following, over time, because my understanding is the main reason is it's kind of stupid, but in an awesome way. And I feel like with the PS2 just having so many games and of such varying levels of quality, like I feel like if you look back on some of these games that may have been ignored or poorly reviewed at the time, because at the time, you were let me think. In the PS2 generation, the normal price was still $50, right?
Oh, I mean, a lot of Sony games, like first-party games, were $39.99.
Yeah. But it wasn't until PS3 and Xbox 360 that 60 became the norm. again. It had been sort of in the past at times for other systems, but the but I mean, at the time, you know, people were like, oh, you know, or you know, I better get, you know, this real meaty, you know, huge adventurous game. Like I think everyone wanted like every game to be like, you know, RPG.
40 hours.
Yeah. You know, you had to get all this content, you know, get the most bang for your buck. And now it's like when you're looking back on it, you don't even really care how much content a game for the PS2 has, as long as it's fun. You know, it's like your reason for playing it is so different now. And so you can look at something like this and it's like, hey, you know, this is kind of stupid, but what's wrong with that?
Right.
Or this game's really short, but who cares?
I mean, I have no idea. It seems like it has a lot of content in it. I mean, Namco at the time was pretty well known for just having a ton of unlockables.
You know, I was really thinking about, you know, Namco was pretty active on the PS2.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even to the point where Soul Calibur 3, if I'm not mistaken, came out on the PS2 before it was developed exclusively for the PS2 before it even came to arcades.
Soul Calibur 3 did.
Did I say 2? I meant 3. I meant to say 3.
Right. 3, yeah. I mean, it was made like, which was a really weird change of pace, especially after, you know, 2 was on everything.
Yeah. I look back on Soul Calibur 2, and I feel like Soul Calibur 2 was almost like one of the very first, like, really successfully developed multi-platform games, like in the sense that a modern game is multi-platform. I mean, other than the fact that each version had its exclusive characters, I mean, they're so identical, you know?
Yeah.
And in previous generations, you know, if you were a game that was developed for the N64 and the PS1 or the SNES and the Genesis, they would have been vastly different.
Yeah.
But I feel like games like Soul Calibur 2 and Prince of Persia were like some of the very first, like, really successful, you know, nearly identical versions of games for different consoles. And that's, you know, the norm now, but at the time,
yeah,
I thought that was kind of unique.
I like that shot that you show of it, and you're like, yes, I know that it's you know, it has 480p.
Well, see, that, you know what the funny thing is? I had no idea. I had no idea, I don't think, until I started editing the episode. And that was why, you know, I feel bad how hard I was on you about it, but like there were certain instances where, because PS2 games, so many of them do not make it clear at all that there's a progressive mode.
This guy is like headbutting me. He's like, geez, like there's a lot of moves in this. I was just like crushing this guy. The special moves like make him go flying across the room too. He spins like 19,000 times in the air. And you just played Dynamite Cop, so you like you can appreciate stuff like this, I think.
Yeah. But what was I talking about?
I don't remember.
Yeah. So yeah, I didn't even know, because they just don't make it clear at all, and you have to check that list on Wikipedia to find. I mean, I don't think the game informs you. It took me the longest time, you know, to figure out how to activate Radiata Stories progressive mode, because it talks about it in the configuration menu, but it doesn't seem to actually do anything. And then that was the first time I ran to the X and triangle thing for a game. And I think, I feel like I was worried Radiata stories might be a bit overused in the episode, but it's by far the best looking PS2
Yeah,
game.
yeah, definitely.
I mean, well, really, I would say the best looking PS2 game I have, in my opinion. Like, the best aged, because it's got this very flat shading style and just very good art direction, I feel.
It's hilarious. I'm sorry. I don't mean to like keep on.
Oh well, I like how the shelves react, how they wobble. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean that's a great looking 40p game. What are some other like you were saying that like
one that I have? I like the flat colors. Like the reason that I used Radiata and Dragon Quest VIII so much is just because there's like very nice flat color shading games. Like I felt were just, a lot of times it's like it's not just about showing any game. It's like I need to show a game that's going to show this point well, and sometimes that takes a bright and colorful game or something with sort of a flatter shading style, or
They're both kicking me now. You gotta see it.
Oh, is this what you were talking
about?
Yeah.
And like really kicking me when I'm down. I wish there was like a way to block.
You were playing the bouncer on the marathon last weekend, and you were not impressed.
I didn't like it. I mean, I didn't love it. I mean, this is way better than the bouncer. But I mean, there's a big difference in time when they were released.
This game just looks a lot more mobile.
Right.
The bouncer's kind of slow.
Yeah. I wasn't like really even paying attention to what was happening in the bouncer. I mean, could you really tell me anything about the storyline of Panzer Dragoon Orta?
No.
Yeah.
But I don't think I could even if I was playing it off stream. Like, I never really paid much attention to the story in those games.
Yeah.
Someone in the chat is talking about S-Video, and I gotta say, I was really impressed with how good I was able to get S-Video looking, even on the FrameMeister.
Yeah, you're like, I can't really pick out anything that like is different about these.
I tried several games to like try to come up with examples that would show the progression from composite to S-Video.
Yeah, I mean, we always try to do that,
And, I'm not trying to make S-Video look bad or anything, but I was trying to, like, pick something that would clearly show this is at least a little bit better. And you can, in that shot that I have of Donald in the Kingdom Hearts menu, like, you really can just barely tell. Like, S-Video is really good. And you know what surprised me was that Tommy cable. Like, is really...
What?
I'm watching you juggle this guy. And he's like in the air, like torso forward, and you're like punching and just juggling him, like legs off the ground, torso forward, and you just. This game looks amazing. I really want it.
I mean, it's. I feel like would fit in that hidden gem category.
It absolutely would. It looks amazing. But yeah, like the one thing with the Tommy cable though, I feel like with any of those really cheap cables, you got to be careful because nothing is holding down those manufacturers, I would assume, from just changing the design or get parts from another vendor. Those aren't going to be necessarily the absolute identical thing, just like the HDMI adapters, which I think are just garbage. I mean, no offense to anyone who uses them and likes them, but
you throw one in the garbage.
I did. I took it out.
I like that we have like recurring themes like that in these episodes at this point. You know, like if there's something like this like not good, that we definitely show it in the being thrown in the garbage.
And it's like really, in reality, the only reason you're doing that is because it's just an easy thing to do.
Right.
But no, let's say that they're recurring themes.
Yeah.
I'm not just doing that.
It gets the point across, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I would. I mean, even though it's taking component and converting it to HDMI, I feel like that was easily, especially the darker one, the Type A as I called it. I mean, I think that's the only step worse than that is composite.
Really?
Yeah, I thought it was terrible. Like, I mean, S-Video looked great. Well, okay, I take that back. The bad S-Video cables. Like, in that, I'm a little worried about how easy that was to see in the episode. What'd you think? Like, when you saw, there's this one shot. Let me think. Was it for S-Video, or was it for something else? It was for Sync-On Composite for the SCART cable. I show this shot of Rogue Galaxy, and I zoom in on Jaster's red scarf. And I don't know if it was really clear that you could see like this crawling pattern go through the scarf. And also when I show the Persona 4 menu, you see this crawling pattern through it. I think what's going on with that is the Sync-On Composite noise is more visible in 240p games because the noise doesn't really move like it, or at least doesn't move as quickly. Because the fields don't move.
Right.
But the fields move on PS2, so the pattern is moving every frame. It's a little harder to see.
Yeah. Sorry,
so
I'm just
I hope that's conveyed decently. I added a note to the description. We say it in the episode, but I added a note, to watch in 60 frames per second because you won't see the interlace stuff and things like that.
Right.
And also, I realized this morning because I was watching the render on. I got a new side monitor, which is definitely a lot better than my old monitor I've been using on the side. Because the old monitor was developing this like high pitched sound that was getting really annoying. So again, it's another cheap monitor, and it doesn't have the fastest pixel response in the world. So I was watching the render on, and I'm like, oh, some of the Bob.
These team up moves are brutal.
The Bob deinterlacing didn't really render that well, but then it turned out to be just that the pixel response on the monitor was so slow that it wasn't. So then I started watching it on my OLED instead, and the effect conveyed. So not only should you watch it in 60 frames per second, but whatever TV or monitor you have that has the fastest pixel response time, you should watch it there too, because a lot of the especially Bob deinterlacing just doesn't convey, but some of the CRT stuff might be a little problematic too.
Yeah. I don't know to power up here. Yeah, but I mean everything showed up really good. I know that you were kind of worried about what like the compression would do to it.
I was kind of proud of the spirits within shot showing the interlaced lines.
Yeah.
I thought that was. I mean, I liked zooming in on the eye. I mean, that's kind of an iconic thing, from the movie. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of that movie or anything, but I thought it was thematically appropriate. I've got the Final Fantasy X music in the background, and Final Fantasy is very appropriate for PlayStation, and I thought it was a fun way to represent standard definition video content in a game appropriate way.
repeatedly hit me in the nuts. He's like, look, he's doing it again. He's like really going crazy here. He's like going for that weak point. He's like, I'm just gonna.
It doesn't look like it's hurting you that much. Are you playing on easy?
No. I mean, I'm playing. I don't think there's a difficulty select.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I didn't hit anything. I've already died. I died once.
Are there like upgrades? I haven't really been.
Oh
paying
yeah.
attention.
You you get points like after every.
Every battle.
Yeah. Man, I hit that guy pretty hard. What's this thing? I can't. It's just a piece of the car. Oh. Yeah, but I mean, we're both kind of. I mean, I'm a fan of the Spirits Within.
Yeah, I have a little more appreciation for it than I did. Like I went through like this sort of a period of denial after it came out.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like pretty much expecting it to be like the best movie ever.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about it, the context of the time. Like, I mean, this was the first video game movie that was being developed by the frickin' people who made the games, and not only that, but by a company that was really well known for their rendered movies, you know?
Right.
And directed by the creator of the series himself. And you know, I obviously was expecting something way different than it turned out to be. Like I saw no way that this wasn't going to be like the best movie of all time. Well, I don't think I really.
I like to always think about like if Advent Children had come out before that, like would it have been a hit? I mean, I don't even know if it would have been, because I don't know if the the audience was huge, but would it be big enough to like, I don't know if the crossover appeal would be there. But I think that I mean, maybe like I love Advent Children, but I think that it's not generally well regarded.
I'm not that. I really like the Sephiroth battle.
Yeah, I mean, it's
I feel like that's very well done.
Sorry, they're like teaming up on me. Both. Jeez, like once they get you going.
Yeah, I mean, Advent Children is just like okay. Like I mean, there's definitely things I like about it. Like I kind of like what they did with like Eris and Zach at the end.
Yeah, I mean, thought it was great. I mean, but you know, like I wasn't like looking for like anything real deep out of it, I guess. I mean, I remember when that was like the most like downloaded movie for a little bit, because you know, it was only like there was like fan subtitles for it. I just remember downloading it in college, like before it was ever released anywhere. Like, I mean, in the US.
But I do think the Sephiroth battle is really good. But like, you know, one thing that kind of drives me crazy is that the Blu-ray version, like the new scenes that they added, like it's really obvious that they are like
much
better quality.
Right, because they only upscaled it, the original movie, and then they like re-rendered rendered out the new ones. At 10,
right, and they had also improved their rendering technology, so like they're just better looking, you know, in more ways. Someone else in the chat said that they think the Final Fantasy movies keep getting better because they really like Kingsglaive. You know, I really liked Kingsglaive. Like I watched it before playing Final Fantasy 15. I thought it was a lot of fun and like gave me a lot of good hope for the game, because it kind of definitely gave me a feeling of a sort of Final Fantasy universe that we hadn't really seen since debatably 8, but it really gave me a 7 feel. And then when I started playing the game, I sort of started resenting Kingsglaive because
you thought it was much more interesting, like, or you that's right, you wish it was
I wish
like
it was
in the game.
Because, I mean, my understanding
You'd have that
of how
Midgar moment.
Yeah, that Midgar moment. Like, I think they cut it out of the. I mean, probably. Well, as far as I understand, the original plan was, you would be Noctis and his friends in the city for the first several hours of the game, and you would escape from what's the city called? Insomnia. And and then the the Midgar moment, as we call it, is like, I think, one of the coolest things in RPGs. Like, where you're inside this city and that's all you know of the game and the world for so long. Like, it feels like
Watch this guy does to me. I don't even understand. I don't even understand. Like, this game is incredible.
It really is. Like, how does this not have the following that God Hand does?
I don't know. Because it doesn't have the move called Pimp Hand, which I can't believe that there was a move in that game called the Pimp Hand.
But like,
but yeah, you wanted that Midgar moment where you know it's the only thing that you know of the game, and like, I mean, there was a point, where you maybe thought that the entire game was going to take place in Midgar.
I think especially people who played Final Fantasy VII that weren't familiar with RPGs at the time, they probably thought that's all there was. But even, like, I was pretty early in my RPG career at that time, and I was aware that the game opened up, but it was still, like, really cool to get to that moment. Like, it just felt like so much of the game, like, that was all you knew of the world, and, like, everything in the world revolved around Midgar, and it was just.
And then suddenly you're in this typical, like, kind of RPG overworld, which is, like, completely 3D at the time. Was like so cool too,
Yeah. And at the time, like, people thought Midgar was like this huge portion of the game, and I feel like if you replay the game and you know where to go, like, it's like probably like 5 hours tops, really. But at the time, it was like it definitely seemed like a much bigger thing. But I really wished, because I felt so disconnected at the beginning of Final Fantasy 15. I felt so disconnected from the world and, like, the situation that was going down in Insomnia.
Right.
Like, and it's all because I feel like they were trying to tell this story that was designed with almost this Final Fantasy VII-esque sort of plot in mind. I feel was the original vision. And then they decide, oh no, we have to make it this open world game because that's what people want nowadays. Is you gotta have these open world games, and they were so set on making it this open world game, and they felt like you have to get to the open world gameplay immediately. We can't have you confined in this city. That's not right. That's not that's not what we want. So. Yeah. Someone's asking, do I like Suikoden 5 going back to it? Well, I played very little of it for this episode because the opening sequence is very long, and it's not super long, but like, you get to this save point and then you're in this, like, really drab looking town. So it's, like, just not very interesting to show in the video. So that's unfortunately why there's not a ton of Suikoden 5 in the video. And again, I lost my save when my first PS3 died, which unfortunately I think that might be what happened to my Suikoden 3 save. I probably had loaded it off of my memory card, and my Suikoden 4. I think all my Suikoden saves got lost that way because I probably had navigated them all to that PS3.
This guy, he's crushing me, man. He stomps on my foot, and I'm just like, one combo. He's like, look at, he's just, how's he doing this? It's like, I didn't have a chance.
Someone in the chat is saying something about not being able to buy Wii points buy Wii points with a credit card. Yes, you can still, but I believe, if I'm not mistaken, starting in sometime in March, you won't be able to add points to your wallet anymore. And I'm considering trying to get a Wii episode done before then, but I don't know. We'll see. Because I want people to like be able to look at it and be like, oh. Like, I really do want these games to play them on actual Wii, you know? Well, and I guess it doesn't matter. Like, you won't be able to buy them at all. So, like, I want to make a video that's going to make people aware of some of the cool things you can do with Wii hardware, so they can make a last-minute decision about wanting to buy games.
Maybe there might be something I'm just like not getting about this. Maybe.
Someone in the chat's also saying the opening character select screen of Wild Arms 3, is it not great? It is great. I kind of forgot about how great it was, and I actually played through that part. I played through Wild Arms 3, I want to say maybe 3 years ago. So I've actually got a couple of good saves for it, and that's one reason I've used it a bit. But the reason I didn't use Wild Arms 3 more than I did was because it's got this sort of canvas filter over it, you know, it's sort of a filter kind of similar to like Okami or Valkyria Chronicles. And again, stuff like that is just not good for when you're specifically talking about video quality. But I did try to use it a few times where it seemed appropriate. Wild Arms 5.
You're excited to play that after.
I'm really excited about it. Like, it just has a good feel about it. Like, and the tone feels right. The feel of the controls in the game just feel right. Wild Arms 5 feels really high quality, and I'm really excited about getting to that. I've had it. I think I got that this past MagFest. I got Wild Arms 5.
Let's see if there's anything I'm missing here.
And I haven't played Wild Arms 4 yet, which is not that popular, I don't think. I think people like the battle system, but they don't like sort of the story and characters very much. But I also understand it's pretty short. Like, I think it's like 20 some hours so that shouldn't be too bad to get through. Oh, you're playing this on the OSSC, are you?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought on that scroll at the bottom of the screen, I thought I was seeing some bobbing, but maybe that's just how the FrameMeister's deinterlacing it.
Maybe.
Or you use like a standard sort of profile when you're doing streams. You're not using the Firebrand X right now.
No, I am. I actually decided I was going to. Yes, this is the new.
Okay.
This is the
sometimes certain things don't deinterlace quite right. Something very interesting. I really want, speaking about Wild Arms 3, I really wanted to use a shot of flying around on your flying thing. It's like a big dragon or something. I forget what it is. I really want to have a shot of just flying over the world map in that thing. But there's some sort of weird something flying that like vibrates and flickers like around its head that like looks completely screwed up. In Lombardia. It looks totally screwed up when it's deinterlaced. It looks screwed up with the bob on the OSSC. It looks a little weird on a CRT. Like, there was just like nowhere that I could use flying over the world map in that thing that didn't look wrong. Like, I don't know what it is. There's something that like near its head that like it's like on one field it's there and on the next field it's not, and it just looks really wrong.
I'm just seeing if there's how I play this. There we go.
This is like the first fight where you're really having a lot of trouble.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's really tough. I mean, I don't know if there's. I'm trying to It's just
Other
like
than other than this, of the PS2 games that you sort of sampled while gathering footage, um, for this episode that you hadn't really played before, like what got you really excited to play a little more?
This.
You were also talking about a Darkstalkers collection.
Yeah, which I had no idea was even a thing until yesterday. I didn't realize that there was a Darkstalker collection on the PS2 that has like all the Darkstalker games on it. It's only released in Japan. It has a 40p mode, like it's like the Alpha collection, like the Street Fighter Alpha, and it's only like $25, so I'll probably end up getting that.
Mm-hmm. Someone talking about the opening cinematic from Final Fantasy X. I was going to say this earlier. The gulf in character model quality from 10 to 10.2 is so much more astounding than I remembered. Especially if you look at the in the HD port section, there's this one shot of Riku from the beginning of the game where I compare the PS2 and PS3 and PS4 versions, and like it's crazy how like high polygon and detailed she is, and like the amount of like expression in her face. Like there's nothing in Final Fantasy X that looks like that. Now later, or well actually earlier in the video, I did this part later, but it was earlier in the video. There's when I'm showing that I'm comparing 4 different models of PS2 and showing that they all look identical. And there's this shot of Pain that is a low polygon character model cutscene. It's not one of the ones that they put a lot of work into. And it's a lot more basic looking. But I don't think, in my memory, Final Fantasy X had any of those high polygon cutscenes, because I mean that opening scene in overlooking Xanarkand would be a high polygon scene if anything, and it's not.
Oh, you can aim for different parts of his body by hitting up and down, so I can hit his head.
This was actually the first time that I had played the Final Fantasy X HD version. Like
you were talking about that.
I've had the PS3 version since it came out. I got the PS4 version after they patched it, because there were some pretty serious glitches in the PS4 version. I wasn't sure if I wanted to get it, and it's real good looking. Like it just looks really clean. Like both versions do, really. I was pretty impressed. It made me want. I'm not a huge Final Fantasy X fan.
I wasn't either. I mean, I think.
Don't get me wrong. I think it's real good, but it's. I'm a big Final Fantasy fan, and it just happens to be lower on my Final Fantasy tier listing. But I still think it's a very good game. It didn't resonate with me like a lot of the other Final Fantasy games. But I know that I see there's some there's at least 1 or 2 10-2 defenders in the chat room. But I kind of like 10-2 more than I like 10. But that's just me. I was actually shocked. My 10.2 save file has I'm assuming this is carrying over from a New Game Plus, but my save file is 82 hours in it.
How many?
82 hours.
Wow. I think you do have to
You have to play the game several times to get 100%.
Yeah. And it's really hard to get that 100% ending.
Right, because I played the game twice. I beat it twice, and on my second playthrough, I was following a guide. I was intending to get the 100% in it, and I'm sure that's why I've got 82 hours, because I'm sure I assume the time carried over from the first game. But I realized, like, I was putting off Chocobo stuff. Like, I knew I had to do all this Chocobo stuff to get 100%. I was putting that off because I really don't like Chocobo breeding and all that kind of stuff. And I realized that I made a big mistake not starting that process much, much sooner, and it was going to take so much longer. That actually kind of soured me on the game for a while. Like, I was like, ugh, I don't think I like this anymore, but I really liked him too. I think it's, you know, it's kind of fun and silly and stupid, and it knows it, you know? Like, it's what it's trying to be, and I think that's okay. I'm not like so big of a fan of the original 10 that I feel. I mean, there is. I mean, I won't say what it is. There is an aspect of 10-2 that does kind of ruin one of the better things about Final Fantasy X. And I think it's something both of us.
Is it? You mean like the 100% ending?
I don't even think it's the 100% ending, because I think I saw it on my own game. I think. Well, maybe I just saw a video, but I think I did it. I thought I did it.
These guys are crushing me.
Yeah, 10-2 has some guilty pleasure songs.
Yeah. I mean, that's
talking about songs. Like the opening song, the "What Can I Do for You?" Like me and my roommate in college like always joked that was like a song for the McDonald's drive-thru. Like, what can I do for you? We always said it was about fast food. But like I actually like the 10-2 soundtrack like as a whole better than the 10 soundtrack. I mean, again, don't get me wrong, 10 soundtrack has some amazing stuff. The Xanarcan music is incredible, but like 10-2 soundtrack it's fun.
It is, but
it's more fun to listen to, I think.
I mean, I can appreciate what they did with it. But I mean, there's just like a lot that, you know, I love the way that 10 ended, and I wish that they had the balls to stick with it.
Yeah, I agree. It's like the one really good thing about 10 is how it ended, I thought.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was the thing that, you know, like I was pretty, you know, I didn't love it that much. I was kind of like, I don't know, I wouldn't say I was disappointed, but, you know, I was just like, I don't even know if I want to finish this at the time, I was saying. And then, you know, like the ending, I love the ending so much that I actually went back and like completed everything.
Oh, did you get everyone's ultimate weapons?
Actually, I didn't do Waka's. That was the only one I didn't do.
Yeah, like once I realized what Waka's was going to take, like I was like, oh, forget this.
Right.
Like I did Titus's and that was it. But you know, I kind of realized. I mean, I think I always knew this, but it really sort of solidified it in my mind when I played through Zodiac Age, which I'm really glad I did, because I was able to show stuff from Zodiac Age, like, you know,
yeah, seriously.
In the game. I'm real glad I played through the whole thing. You know, there is at least one shot of me controlling every single character in Final Fantasy 12 in the video. Every single character. The only exception is Vaughn is never in a battle party, but there's like two shots
of him like standing there, yeah.
Of in the town. There's one shot where like it's in the Arcades Aerodome, where you can sort of like I do the wipe and you can see the reflections on the floor. I thought that shot turned out pretty good. And then there's one of him running around in Balfenheim, but once you're out in the field, Vaughn is gone. No more Vaughn. But assuming you can count Vaughn running around the town, I control every single character in Final Fantasy 12, and actually every character in 10.
No.
You know what? Lulu might. Well, I guess Lulu is technically in it. I think Lulu might have not got any screen time other than like in the side box, near the beginning.
There was not a lot of side boxes in this video. There's a lot of times where you're
sure? I think there are.
I mean, there are, but I mean, there's. I guess I didn't think that there's a lot more of us just like on screen, like saying the information with only like a background.
And sometimes I try to not be afraid to do that, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the thing. It's like, I think it's important not to be afraid to do that.
But I thought there were a lot of side boxes. But there is a side box where it says like 480i and 576i. And I have like a shot of Final Fantasy X's opening on the PVM. So technically, I guess Lulu isn't that. But otherwise, I think every Final Fantasy X cast member was involved in a comparison at some point in the video. I think Yuna was actually in like probably like 2 or 3 comparisons. But, you know, again, you know, 10 is not one of my favorites, but 12, like especially playing Zodiac Age.
Now your love for it has been
Well,
rekindled.
it's reinforced.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And I feel like I always felt a little disappointed with Final Fantasy 12's story because it feels unfinished to me. Like it doesn't feel like it works up to the climax in a very satisfying way. And there's, you know, like a whole country that is like a significant part of the plot that you never even get to go to, which always bummed. Like that was one of my biggest disappointments with Final Fantasy X. And I've kind of just accepted this now because this is how all the games have been since then. Is that in every Final Fantasy game before 10, you feel like you got to travel around the whole world and see everything.
Come on. I was like doing awesome. I was doing some crazy moves, and
you like flipped off the building and like jumped off of 2 guys' heads.
I just did it again.
But you know what I mean? Like, it didn't feel like you in Final Fantasy X, like because you didn't have that world map and airship. Like, I felt there were parts of the world. Like when they show you the map of Spira, like I feel like that's just one continent. I feel like there's more to the world that you never go to, you know?
Oh yeah. I mean,
like it's never even honestly all that clear. Is Spira like Spira? Is it a planet? I mean, or is it, you know,
just like a one country?
Yeah, like it's not obvious what it is.
Yeah, but I think it's definitely like the whole planet.
Which is kind of ironic when you consider that like so much of the imagery of Final Fantasy X revolves around spheres. That it's like the first Final Fantasy where you don't get to travel around the whole globe.
Yeah.
But you know, man, I'm sorry, Blade Blur. I sound like I'm pooping on Final Fantasy X. Every time I talk about Final Fantasy X, it sounds like I'm pooping on it. But I still like it. I just don't like it anywhere near as much as I like most other Final Fantasy games.
Right.
If it's any consolation, you know, I would have previously. I only ranked it. The only one I ranked below it was Final Fantasy 2. But now Final Fantasy 15 has risen Final Fantasy 10 to at least third from the bottom.
This is crazy. This guy is like, come on, this is like ridiculous here.
But yeah, it seems like the game's all of a sudden getting a lot tougher.
It is, yeah.
But 12, like, I was much more satisfied, I guess, where the story ended up. You know, it was actually my 3rd time through the game. I played through it twice on PS2. And I feel like I've come much more at peace with, you know, where the game ends up and in terms of the story and stuff. And it's just, I think it is easily the best Final Fantasy that isn't on Super Nintendo or PlayStation. PS1.
Oh, here we go. What is 12?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Like, I would say it's easily better than any of the NES ones. And it's easily better than 10. And it's better than 15. And 11 and 14 are so hard to rank, you know. 11 And I don't mean that in a negative way, because it kind of annoys me when people just like pretend that 11 doesn't exist. But because I have a lot of fondness for 11, and I kind of think of 11 as like maybe quite possibly my favorite video game world.
Yeah, I mean, you did a whole video on it.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of would like to do,
You were
we've
disappointed you
got,
couldn't really use any of that for this.
yeah, well, I really kind of had intentions when Final Fantasy 11's service on PS2 ended. I want to say, was it this past March, or I think it was this past March. Um, and I, kind of had intentions of, did you finish that fight?
I did. I gotta fight these dudes.
I kind of had intentions of, you know, playing Final Fantasy 11 for a month on PS2, just to like go around the world and get some footage of it in PS2, because you'd never be able to do it again.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the reasons you did it for that. Man, how do I get off before? Like that's why you did that episode, because you knew that.
Right. I mean, and I can still go back anytime I want and get better footage of Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
I kind of like jumped up on your shoulders and like kneeled on your shoulders and punched you.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I should get more Final Fantasy 11 footage before it's too late. And I mean, who knows when too late is? I mean, I think the game is still popular enough for Square to continue to keep the service running, even if the story content is over, or at least it is for now still. But I like 14 a lot, but I don't think I'll ever be as attached to the world of 14 as I am 11's, and it's in a lot of ways because 11 is such a player unfriendly game.
Retromania in the chat saying people are still playing on like private servers, even
for 11. I mean, for PS2 11 specifically. I know that there are private servers for PC 11 that take the game back to, I think, early Treasures of Otter Gone days, which was actually, at a time that I wasn't playing the game. Otter Gone had been out for quite some time when I came back to Final Fantasy 11. I played my original stint of Final Fantasy 11 ran during when Chains of Promethea was released, but I was too low level to do anything with Promethea.
I feel like I need to like up my endurance for my body so that I don't get knocked down so much. I thought that maybe you'd be able to like grind for more like more experience. I don't think so.
Well, Voltar is talking about Resident Evil Outbreak private servers for PS2.
Interesting.
That is a game that I'm kind of scared of because it seems real janky. I want to play through it, but it seems humorous in some ways, but it doesn't really seem good.
I don't understand like how these guys do these super power moves. Maybe there's something I'm missing. Maybe there's like a way to like power up your guy and do like different stuff.
Oh, we've got someone here whose favorite Final Fantasy is 8, and while it is not my favorite Final Fantasy, I strongly applaud you for having that opinion, because I feel that 8 gets a lot of hate that it shouldn't get.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan.
So I always forget what your opinion on 8 is, but I rate 8. 8 is my favorite soundtrack.
Oh, jeez, I wasn't even looking. Really? That's her favorite soundtrack.
My favorite Final Fantasy soundtrack, at least. Yeah, the battle theme is easily the best battle theme in the series.
This guy is freaking.
It's got the regular battle theme is great. The Laguna battle theme is great. Like, people hate on Squall, but I don't think Squall. There's nothing wrong with Squall. Squall's fine.
See, these guys have so many more moves. Jeez.
And like, you know, the really major thing, dangling from your foot. Like the moment that everyone hates on 8 for, like, I don't even think is that big of a deal, because I've always like kind of interpreted it as like Sid kind of planned it, but that's just my opinion.
See, it wasn't even that. I just thought it was. Definitely when I need to like replay, like revisit and see if I
will say that, like, before I played 8,
I'm gonna see if there's any way I can like explore, like there's other things I can do.
Like a friend of mine got 8 the day it came out. Like, I don't think I even had my PlayStation quite yet when 8 came out. I think I got it like about half a year later. And a friend of mine got it the day it came out, and
when I
learned about like the whole thing about enemies leveling up with you, I was like really against that. And I still think that the game is not better for that, but I don't think it really hurts the game that much in the grand scheme of things, because I think the junction system works really well, and I think the game is overall balanced well in spite of that, but I do think it was a mistake.
Yeah.
But aside from that, like, I really like the gameplay of 8. Like, I like the junction system. I like the stocking system. Like, I feel like the way that the summons and junctioning works is definitely much more engaging than most of the other summon stuff in the series. Like, they were always just like a different kind of spell in the other games, but then they like kind of become, well, I guess with the exception of 6, because they teach you your magic in 6, and also like increase your stats when you level up. But like, it definitely made summons feel more, I don't know, I just felt more connected to the whole summon creatures process in 8. And I feel like after 8, they kind of went back to, summons are just like a really powerful spell, and 9,
because of the bad reaction to them, thinking that. Well, I mean,
I don't know,
it didn't help that they were like went so long and you had to hold down select and press the X buttons. You know, just like the gameplay of it was just not.
But then after that, they kind of turned summons into this like pet that, like, totally changes the battle system, and like, I never liked that. Like, I never liked how summons worked in 10 and 12.
See, I like them actually like as their own character in 10, yeah.
I never, I didn't really like that. I mean, I guess it's a little different in 11, because like the summoner has the summon out as like a pet all the time. Which, I mean, if you're a summoner, that's what you do. Like, you're not controlling a party in Final Fantasy 11. You're controlling you. So that's kind of one of the things that makes summoner unique.
Right.
In 11, and same thing with 14. Although the things you summon are kind of weird. like they're not the actual summons, because the summon creatures in 14 are like bad. Like they're really bad. Like they are like the worst thing in the world. Like if
Oh, you mean they're just like
no, like they are bad. Like they're bad. like so like in 14, like there are these different beast races, like that. For example, I think I don't think I'm backwards on who summons who. Like the Sahagin, for example, you know, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. You know, like the fish monsters in Final Fantasy.
I don't remember.
Well, anyway, like they try to summon Leviathan, and like any time, like what the like it's kind of hard to explain. Like summon creatures are things that like shouldn't exist, but they are basically summoned through like the collective imagination or consciousness of a group that of humans or beastmen that are trying to summon this they call them primals, and you know, do whatever. But I mean, basically, it's like a earth-shattering event. Like if Ifrit gets summoned, it's like, okay, hang up everything else. We got to like get rid of this thing. It's like it's bad stuff.
I lowered the difficulty level.
Oh, okay.
So because I was getting killed too much.
But yeah, it's bad. They're bad. So the summoners in 14, they summon like these. They call them Igis or Igis. I don't know how you pronounce it. But they're like a tamed version of the primal, which they look kind of like weird and dorky. Like they aren't like the cool looking full blown thing.
Right.
They're like a mini version that looks kind of strange. I mean, I say that, and I'm actually the main job I'm playing in 14 is.
And you still play it like every night, don't you? Isn't it? It's kind of your unwind.
It's sort of, but like I don't really do anything like significantly productive in it. But it's like it's kind of become this like bedtime ritual where I like log into it like for like 10 minutes.
Right.
But I haven't even done Heaven's Word, which is the first expansion. Like I can't even access the areas yet. Like I actually a few months ago I actually played a decent bit and got made a little bit of progress in the story. And finally got Summoner, which I like started like probably like a year ago leveling.
And you've really been playing it since day one, both versions, right?
Yeah, technically. I mean, this
is damn channel. This damn YouTube that's ruining it.
Yeah, I'd be a lot better off in Final Fantasy 14 if it wasn't for this. Yeah, I got the original version the day it came out. And I didn't hate it. There was admittedly not much to do, but I feel like if everyone else didn't hate it, then like, you know, if my friends had been around to like play with, like I feel like I would have been somewhat entertained, but it was definitely thin on content. There was no real story progression to go through at the time. They just didn't have a vision for where to go. But yeah, I mean, I've been playing the 2.0 version, since the beta, but not like heavily. Like I don't have any job over level 50, and I'm super, super casual. But yeah, it's kind of become this like part of my bedtime ritual where it like like just kind of helps clear my mind
Right.
of whatever I was doing during the day. I don't know. It's kind of silly, but it's I don't know. It's just what I do.
Speaking of playing stuff, like what is your plan of action like going forward? I mean, like I was saying that you had a whole bunch of stuff that you haven't played Mario. You haven't even like looked up anything on it.
No, I don't want to. I want to go.
I know. I know that's good.
Yeah. I mean I thought for sure I would be done with the PS2 episode before that came out, and obviously that didn't even come close to happening. I was like kind of too tired today to feel like since I've put it off for so long, like I want to play it like when my mind is in the right place.
Right. So you don't think you'll even start it tomorrow?
I might start tomorrow. I might. Like today didn't feel right. I wanted to get.
Well, I wouldn't want to start it, especially with like if you're. I mean, when we release these videos, like we watch like the progression of them, and like watch
read the comments and.
You want to be able to focus on the thing that you're. You want to be able to focus on it so that you are not like I just every level like I'm going to check how many views this has now.
Yeah, I want to I might not even have my computer on, Right. Like I just want to do nothing but play Mario. So I might start tomorrow, probably tomorrow or Tuesday. Today I cleaned up a bit from the PS2 mess, and opened up my Xbox One X. And start getting games installed on. Games seem to take a long time to get installed.
Oh my gosh, like the Xbox One, I'm surprised it hasn't gotten better, and it's not better on there. I mean, it's
can you not? I mean, I haven't actually tried because I'm not really intending to start playing any of the games I have right now. Like, I haven't tried the backwards compatibility. Well, actually, I did. I tried Banjo-Kazooie because it was a download game.
Right.
But I haven't tried the disc backwards compatibility yet. But I was kind of working on installing. I've got 4 regular Xbox One games, and yeah, it's taken forever. But what I did, I just started putting the disc in the system and then just put it to sleep, and you can still hear the drive run for a long time.
Yeah, I don't know why it takes so long.
Like the PS4, most games you can start playing after a few seconds.
Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised still, how quickly it installs.
I thought Xbox One did the same thing. Am I missing something?
I mean, you can start playing after a certain point, but it really takes a long time.
Yeah, it's really surprising. I think the PS3 though, I think it does do more than you think in the background. It just acts like it's installed, and I think what I think it does. I'm just assuming because it's so quick, but I think it's just reserving amount of space on the hard drive, but not actually having everything installed right away.
Yeah.
But I thought the Xbox One did the same thing. But again, I haven't actually tried launching a game, but it doesn't act like it wants you to play.
I'm doing pretty good because I switched it down to easy, and it's actually way easier now. But I'm unlocking a lot of moves, so maybe just you can replay it on more difficulty, higher difficulty levels with more moves.
I'm gonna look up how long this game is.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious how long the story is, because I'm on mission 19 already.
Urban Rain. Wow. Holy cow.
Is it long?
Well, it's surprisingly long. But I mean, so main story's got 4 submissions: 3 hours, almost 6 hours, 7 hours, and 13 hours. And then main plus extras has 2 submissions for 30 hours and 54 hours.
So there must be a bunch of stuff like outside.
There's like a ton of content.
Because there's a percentage thing for unlockables.
Okay.
Will you look up how many missions there are?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking up now. You said you're on 19?
Yeah.
Let's see. Holy cow, there are a ton of characters.
Yeah.
Like, a whole ton of characters. Does this have... there is no 2-player co-op mode.
But there's like a one-on-one fighting mode.
Okay. Let's see. Holy cow! There's 100 missions. I'm like kind of backing out of wanting this game now. This is pretty involved.
Really? I mean, they're going pretty quick. I mean, they're just fights. I mean, I'm 20 in.
You probably don't even have to do all of them, I bet.
Probably not.
Oh, you're on 20 already, so it is going pretty quick.
Yeah. I mean, I probably won't beat it tonight, but...
No, it really does look like a good game. I would probably grab it if I saw it.
You better.
I am disappointed it doesn't have co-op, though.
Yeah, it seems like it'd be perfect for that. See, these guys... See, I think you can play as every single enemy in the game with their movesets, and they all have different movesets.
I bet there's like some clones, though.
Probably, but... this guy is, like, creaming me. Was somebody saying about a code we needed to enter? Like
enter a code for what?
I don't know. Someone in the chat saying there is. They just need a code needs to be entered. Is there a 2-player mode that's?
Oh, is it kind of like experimental or something though? That oftentimes when modes have that, it's not really very well fleshed out. Someone is talking about a good co-op game on the PS2 is The Warriors, which is a game that I hear people talk about now and then.
Yeah. I think it's expensive.
Really?
Yeah.
Which I don't know anything about the movie it's based on.
You'd like the movie actually.
Oh, you think so?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a great.
I always thought it looked like kind of had a weird look to it.
Well, it does. Like, I mean, it's like a no-budget movie from like the 70s.
Really, the 70s? I thought it was an 80s movie.
Maybe it might. If it's 80s, and it's like really early 80s. I feel like it's like the late 70s. We look it up.
I should watch it sometime for sure.
You know what it's about?
Not really.
So it's about these gangs in New York City. You know, like they all have like a theme.
Oh, it's 79.
Okay. Each of these gangs have like a theme to them. It's pretty cool. It's anyways, like this group of this one gang, you know, is framed for the murder of this another person. It's been a while since I've seen it, but they were framed for a murder, and they have to get to their home turf. Like they have to trek through New York City in like the outer in the boroughs to like get back to Coney Island, which is, you know, like their home turf. It's pretty cool.
Is it like
you'd like it? I think you'd really like it.
Is it like in like a dystopian future world, or is it just like normal America?
No, it's like a dystopian future. But like all the different gangs like have like kind of like these themes to them. Like there's ones that like all look like crazy baseball players and stuff. It's pretty cool. This guy, see, now it's suddenly not easy anymore.
Just think of it like Jet Set Radio, but with not as good music.
It has some pretty good music though.
I don't know much about Jet Set Radio. It never struck me as my kind of game.
Yeah, I don't think you'd like Jet Set Radio. This guy, look at him. He's just like juggling me around. Like this. Look at this guy. He's just. I wonder if you're supposed to be able, like, if there's a way to escape this guy. He's just like, he's going nuts on me.
Literally.
Yeah. It's like, it's pretty brutal. It's pretty cool. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Man. Come on. There we go. But you should probably watch The Warriors if you get a chance.
Yeah, I should.
I'm just gonna upgrade my toughness, maybe. I guess. Great debate, Lunar, Sega CD or PlayStation. I like the Sega CD version more. Mainly because it has better music, and it was the first one I played.
I only have the PlayStation versions. Haven't played them yet, but I want to make it a priority. I even at one point I considered
you should play them both back to back.
Well, yeah, I think that's what I want to do.
You'll really be able to appreciate it then. I mean, really, the story continuity.
I mean, you know, I've been putting it off, but I said not long ago, like, oh, I'd really like to play that in December, maybe, but I don't know if that's really going to happen, but probably not. But I would like to play it, like, sometime in the next half year. I think would be a good goal.
Yeah, you just gotta, you know, make a priority to do it. And that's like, it's easy for me to say that, but it's like never. Like you got Mario, definitely like Ease 6, hopefully Ease 8.
You know, I've really, you know, I think I told you not long ago that, like, even though it's sometimes hard to find the time for RPGs, like I feel like lately when I do make the time for RPGs, I feel like I've been getting into them more than I had in more recent years. Like, I don't know if it's just like when I actually do take the time to play them, and like I just appreciate having the time to play them. I don't know, but I've found it easy more recently to get into RPGs. Like I don't know if I'm really saying it right, but like.
No, I understand that. You know, being able to. You know, prioritize it, and it really depends on like how like invested you are in it.
Yeah, you've kind of got me scared about Trails of Cold Steel, but I'm like kind of nervous because like I feel like there's no point in playing the first one if I'm not going to play the second, but I don't even have the second yet, and I probably need to get that before it becomes like difficult to get or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a slow starter, but I mean, I think slow starter is being generous. It's like slow until like the last like 2 hours of the game. Really.
But like you were saying like early on, like how good you thought it was, and you thought I should get it. And
oh
then,
yeah,
like,
yeah. It's just
your problem with it was this: it dragged on for a lot longer than you thought it would.
Well, you kind of like do like the same things over and over again. You're like in this military school and you have to go, you do like the test and you go on a field trip, and then something always happens on the field trip, and then you go home and there's like, then you talk to everybody in the town and you do it like 7 times.
Well, I mean, but if you go into the game knowing that's the structure, maybe it wouldn't be so bad.
That's true. You know, it's just, it goes on for a long time like that, and you keep on waiting for something more to happen. And, you know, on each one of these things, like something happens, and you learn. The whole point is for you to like really like learn about the world and, you know, the characters. Like you really learn a lot about them. So essentially, I'm guessing that the second one probably has like none of that stuff, because all that stuff is like completely, like, you know, these characters pretty well by that point.
Is it the same world as Trails in the Sky?
Yeah. They're just all like in different continents. Like they refer to events in the other games a lot, and and sometimes like characters show up.
Yeah, I don't remember a whole ton about Trails in the Sky other than the big twist at the end.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely gonna replay that when I play this. When I'm gonna play the second one. See, it's interesting because the in that series, like each one has a trilogy. Like each story arc has a trilogy.
Oh, okay.
You know, there's the first one kind of sets up the world, and then like kind of ends with the big plot twist. And I think the second one is always like really crazy, and like a lot of stuff happens, and like essentially the story ends with that. And then the third game, you play as a different character who's like interacting with the characters from the previous games, like in the aftermath.
Huh? Really?
Yeah.
Is Trails of Cold Steel 3 out?
No, that's gonna be on PS4. It's like not even. It might have just been released in Japan. But
how many sub-series are there? Are there more than just Cold Steel and Sky?
And there's one more that's like in between them. That
Okay.
has never been like it's like takes place in a different continent called like Crossbell. But I mean, I don't really know anything about it.
Well, apparently
Whoa!
Cold Steel 3 came out in Japan a few months ago.
Okay. So I mean, that's surely gonna get released here.
I need to let me look up Cold Steel 2
But I wonder if they're gonna bring Cold Steel 1 and 2 to PS4. Yeah.
I've got, the collector's edition of 1 that has the place to put 2 in it, which would be kind of cool to have both on PS3 just for that, but let's see.
This new move I have is awesome. This new combo.
Ooh, the first Trails of Cold Steel is like $56.
Yeah, well, it doesn't surprise me. It's probably like all out of print and everything now.
Yeah, the second one is 44. I mean, at least it's not 60.
Oh, really? So I wonder if it's. I mean, it was. I think it released at $39.
Wait a second. Am I looking at the wrong thing? I'm looking at the PAL version.
Oh. This guy is like, jeez. Oh yeah. Sorry if I just busted your ears.
The PS3 American version is like 30.
Yeah.
The Vita version's 32. I mean,
they have like, which might interest you a little bit, is they have like if you got the Vita version as well, they have like cloud save. You can transfer the saves back and forth.
I wonder if you could import data. I almost feel like I maybe should have got the Vita version. Like it feels like a weird thing to say, but because I normally always go for the normal console version, but like I feel like a game like that, like I might be more compelled to play as like a travel game.
Maybe, but I don't know. I mean,
oh yeah, they have the Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 3 first time limited edition Japanese version for $68.
First time? What does that mean?
I don't know. It just says first time limited Japanese version. It doesn't say that in English on the cover, so it must be a weird translation.
I gotta bust Zach's upper body. You just let me beat him up. I don't know how to... So the missions have like different things. See, what is it? How do I bust up his upper body, I wonder?
So are you using the Firebrand X profile with the John
with John's
scalar settings?
Yes.
Did you think that in the comparisons, like the difference was all that noticeable?
Yeah. I mean, we both really like this.
Yeah, I feel like it's a good middle ground. Like
Yeah.
it kind of gives you that horizontal softness that a CRT would do,
Right.
but it's like because I mean most retro games I really like the sharper horizontal, but like I feel like maybe when it gets to a 3D game, there's something to be said for, I mean, at least for this resolution. Like I don't think it works very well with N64 at 240p, but I feel like when you get to 480i, like a little softness in the horizontal kind of helps.
Yeah, I gotta bust up Zach's lower body. I was busting up his upper body. Sorry.
How are you getting those tips? Is that on easy mode?
Well, it tells you. It's just like the mission. It's like the mission objective.
Ah.
I mean, I don't know if he's like what the deal is with him. But if they all get ported to the PS4, I'd probably rebuy them and replay them that way.
It would seem,
although
like they should, but
yeah, but I mean,
knows?
Like if I was gonna replay the first one, it would be much more enjoyable. I feel like with like a new game plus, so I could just kind of do a lot of the extra stuff and never have to worry about it.
I mean, I kind of feel like maybe I should just get the PS3. Go ahead and get the PS3 version of Cold Steel 2 because, like, I just want to put it in that collector's box, you know?
Oh yeah, I mean you have the collector's box, right? And it just like fits right in it, so it's like a good.
Do you have it?
Yeah, oh yeah. I have the games in it too.
I mean, it was like basically the same price at the time I bought it, if I recall. Like it was not expensive. I wouldn't have bought it if it was expensive.
Right. How do I beat up his lower body, I wonder? I don't know. Maybe if I try sliding. If I don't know how to like beat up his lower body.
Like, just like sweep his legs or something?
That's what I'm doing, but it's not. I don't think it does enough damage.
Is it like bad
if
you
there
damage his upper body too much?
No, there we go. Maybe this. There we go. Maybe I just do grapples for his. Here we go. I feel like I might have it now.
that does look painful to the lower body. Yes.
Yeah, I mean it's like making electricity come out of his lower body.
Oh, is that like what the electricity is for? It like indicates
where it's hitting.
It's damaging.
Yeah, I guess so.
That makes sense.
Yeah. When it hurts in certain places, feels there's electricity on it.
So John Linneman was telling me about, GameCube games can run at a lower color depth too, and like I definitely always noticed, like in Wind Waker.
Can I just say that I love the part, like John goes in this in-depth stuff about it, and to like somebody who does like, it does sound like it's very intimidating, like kind of mumbo jumbo in a lot of ways, and you're like, I think I get the gist of it. It's like it's kind of like, well, I think I understand.
But he was telling me, and I'd always noticed that like Wind Waker sometimes has this like sort of almost jail bar effect when the screen goes dark and like over the ocean, but I never thought it was like a progressive thing. But I guess like a lot of GameCube games have dithering. I never really noticed it. It's like it must not be as severe as what you see on a lot of PS2 games. Like, the dithering example I used in the comparison was Soul Calibur 2. Which I mean, I don't think you should use the progressive mode in that game because the dithering looks bad.
Yeah, I mean, I never really picked it out until you like really zoom in on it, and I was like, oh, like that makes sense. I've seen that.
Yeah, but I mean, up until then, I hadn't had PS2 games that did the dithering thing. I just didn't have a lot of 480. Like my only 480p PS2 game that I had for a long time was Radiata Stories because I got rid of. I have them back, but I got rid of my PS2 copies of the God of War games and Shadow of the Colossus because I was like, I went through this phase where like I was getting rid of the original versions when there were HD ports.
Right. Yeah. That same thing happened to me.
It, but
like I need to rebuy Shadow of the Colossus after playing it. Like that surprised me. Like for a game that like really seems to have like a hard time running, that it has like 480p and like widescreen mode in it. It's like not what you'd expect.
Yeah. Well, it's possible that it's making the I mean, it's probably not running in the field rendering mode, right? Like field rendering, has performance savings, but a lot of the other games are probably running internally at 480p anyway. So it's really not like widescreen would definitely cost more, but it's possible progressive scan wouldn't have even had an effect depending on how it's running internally. But yeah, Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. Like I played maybe a year ago, like a few hours of the GameCube one.
You never realized like how cool it actually is.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was fine.
Like I remember at the time like just being so blown away by the water in that game.
Yeah, well that was the main reason.
But like you watch it now and it's kind of like it's cool, but it's just like it's like barely even water. It's like like Jello.
But
it's super cool looking.
Yeah, but
it was cool enough to like just make you want to like run around in circles in it.
But it's super sampled from like I want to say like the resolution is like maybe like even 720p. Like I don't quote me on that, but because I tried to look it up a bit, but it's like super sampled like from a pretty high resolution, and that's why it looks so good. But it's doing the field rendering thing, but there's something about a back buffer and a front buffer. And I don't fully understand what's going on there. I get the gist of it. But
the other thing I think I was talking to like just like how good of a writer John is, and it's like it's because he spends like every day like writing for videos, and he's around like other writers. It just makes me envious. Like I would never think of something like to call something a bandwidth monster. It's just like it's like a great description that like I would just like, why can't I think of like cool ways to say things like that? A bandwidth monster.
But, I mean, and that's something that I don't really think about it in terms of computing is bandwidth. Like to me, that's like a network thing. You don't think about the amount of bandwidth that the thing has. I mean, you do to some extent, but like it's definitely you don't think of it as much as the gigahertz and all.
Right. I wonder like how you unlock stuff in this, and what the unlockable stuff is.
Yeah, it was almost like getting a little DF retro segment in our own episode.
Yeah, I mean, there's a definite, like what John does is like. It's quite a bit different than like kind of what we do, I guess.
Right,
Like
because
he really gets into like the workings of like how it like really works and like
right.
and you know like I think that if we understood it well enough, we would
But
probably.
we don't. But yeah, that's okay. I mean,
It's okay.
you know,
Like we know our place.
right. I mean, yeah. I mean, they're talking. I mean, they have an understanding of like, oh, there's like no way you could pull off that effect on this console because this would take this kind of resources and like I just I could never make an estimate about like oh if you have this much RAM then we can expect the difference between this system and that system to be like this like my thing is always like the end result. Like, I want to look good. I can appreciate good video quality. I mean, they're really talking about the graphics and how the graphics work. We're just talking about the pixels that go on your screen. And I think a lot of people misunderstand the difference between graphics and video quality.
Right.
When we're talking about video quality, Digital Foundry is talking about graphics and just other technical aspects. But a lot of times we get a lot of comments who they want to be all very high and mighty because I do not care about graphics. It's like, oh well, good for you.
Right.
You just pooped on every artist that worked on every game that you ever played. I mean, okay, you tell me that you would be okay with just playing as triangles and squares in every game.
Yeah.
I mean, something I realized at a certain point. I mean, yes, gameplay is king most of the time. Absolutely. I mean, there are situations where a game with bad gameplay can be so charming in other aspects they can get away with it. But in most cases, a game does need to have good gameplay to be worthwhile. But at the same time, I think ignoring that a game is the sum of its parts is stupid. I mean, the graphics, the story, the music, the other aspects of the style, that all adds up to your total level of appreciation for a game.
Right.
Gameplay is typically the most important aspect, but the difference between a game you love and a game that was just pretty fun, it often comes down to style and technical achievements and things like that. And so I always just have to laugh when people try to get snobby about not caring about graphics, like they're just trying to say that they're on this high level, this enlightened level. Oh yes, my forum buddies said that gameplay is the only thing that matters. Yes, I agree with this. Yes, this is the right way of thinking. But I also think it's funny because they're completely missing the point of graphics and video quality being totally separate things in my mind. Another related comment that I always have to laugh at is it's like if you're trying to have good graphics, why aren't you just playing a PS4 or PC Master Race or something? It's like okay, I can still want good video quality out of my NES. Like it doesn't have anything to do with graphics. And two, graphics, it's not always about, the systems or platforms that can produce the highest end graphics. Like the thing that fascinates me most is systems working within their constraints. Like a system that uses its resource, or a game that uses its resources well, will always be a good looking game in my mind. Like, I can look at all these PS2 games that I've been doing nothing but look at for the past 2 months and be like, oh, that's a really cool effect.
Yeah.
for the PS2 pulled off, and that's why we had John in the video be like, look at all these cool things that the PS2 can do. Like, it's actually really crazy that it could do this, and I can look at that and be like, oh wow, that's really neat to see that
And
on PS2.
you say it best in the video, and he's like, "Did this always look this good?"
Yeah, exactly. Like, sometimes you're surprised, like, especially looking at PS2 on CRT, it's like, wow, like, I didn't appreciate it back then as much as I should have. Like, it's kind of cool, you know?
Right.
But
All right. I was like, this guy's beating me, and I got my energy drink now.
And I think that's one reason that I gravitate toward consoles more than PC. I mean, there's a lot of reasons, but even though PC could technically be better graphics, something about fixed platforms is just so much more appealing to me. Like, you know, it's just like you know what it is, and you know your expectations are kind of set.
Right.
Like, you know, okay, you know, this is what I expect to see in an NES game, but then, oh, it does this really cool thing that seems kind of like something the NES shouldn't be able to do, and then it's like, oh, that's exciting. Also, it's 11 o'clock. I had no idea.
Days go by really fast when you don't have to think about editing the PlayStation 2 episode.
Well, you know, it's kind of funny. Like, when I'm like not deep into a project, sometimes I just stop and think, like, man, lunch feels like it was like forever ago. Was that really today? And then, like, when I am like deep in edit mode, like, I'm like, oh my gosh, there are not enough hours in the day.
Yeah. That's the hardest part about it. So what do we have up next? Like, what is happening?
Well, I mean, it's going to be something from you. I'm not sure what it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I like have a number of things in flux right now. You know, it's like I should have been ahead. I think I've been planning a lot of stuff. You know, like since finishing the Rhea and Phoebe episode. You know, I've been like kind of doing some capture for future things. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that thing is going to be the next thing. But I don't know. I have like a number of things. I have a number of placeholder scripts in our Google Drive.
Sort of my goals for the near future, aside from playing the crap out of Mario Odyssey, is ideally I would like, and you know, it kind of depends on how things go, but I want to try to see if I can get a script mostly fleshed out or totally fleshed out for what I envision is this gaming on a 4K TV episode, which will encompass sort of both modern and retro. I kind of want to get that script fleshed out before Thanksgiving, so I know what I'm kind of getting into. But
we don't want to get ourselves in a position again where we're like out of practice.
Right. That you know, I'm kind of going to make it a New Year's resolution to. Like, I'm going to spend some time in December, hopefully, like, kind of fleshing this out. But, like, I want to come up with a sort of a daily schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I'll be more efficient in all aspects of my life. And by all aspects of my life, I even mean free time to play frickin' video games.
That's the hardest part, you know. And then
because
you have a lot of stuff you want to play, and then you realize you only really have time to play like a couple of games, like at the very most, like between episodes.
Yeah, I mean, and so like I want to come up with a schedule where I spend a certain amount of time of the day working on stuff for my day job, you know, if applicable,
right?
If there's something that I need to do, and then, you know, a certain time of the day until mid-evening, just working on my life and gaming every day. Like, and that could even just be playing a game that I want to cover in a future episode,
right?
Or researching something, or it could be anything. But I need to spend time on it every day so that I don't run into these situations where it's all I do for a month and a half.
Right.
So, and two, also have a little bit of just game time or movie time or something every evening, because I don't get that right now.
Right.
I'm
it's tough not having like that stuff.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's like family time. Like I want to spend time with like my wife, like after the kids go to bed, and it's hard for me to.
And so I want to come up with a more sustainable sort of schedule. So it's like I'm working on it all the time, but I'm not crunching on it when I am working on it.
So that's really what it is.
And I mean, it is crunch. So I want to. I want to spend at least the first two. I want to like come up with this sort of daily life schedule, which I'm hoping like even will entail like a day off on the weekends. Like that would be great.
Right.
And I want to like really commit to that schedule for at least the first 2 to 3 months of the year, and like because I've like tried to come up with ideas for a schedule before and just never committed to it. But I feel like if I can like commit to that for 2 to 3 months, then like I can improve it and optimize it and like really figure out like where it works and what might need to be tweaked.
Right.
And then, and that way, if it truly isn't working to do this sort of schedule, then I can, back out of it. But I need to be like, I have to really commit to this for a certain number of months, and to be sure whether it is working or isn't working. But that, I think I'm going to make that my New Year's resolution, and I think I can do it too, because the one time I really made like a serious New Year's resolution was, I think it was 2 years ago when we said no more all-nighters when editing the show.
Yeah, it was the year before. Maybe it was end of 2015.
Going into 2016?
Yeah,
I think it was going into 2016.
Right. Because that was like it's like a every other week thing for you at the time.
Right. Yeah. I like there was like a span from like September to December where I think on the night before I released an episode, there was only one of those nights that I went to bed. Like, it was ridiculous. But we were like so committed to that Friday release schedule.
Right.
Like weekly at that time. And like it was too much. And we said no more all-nighters. Like, I mean, if it doesn't get done, it doesn't get done. No more all-nighters. And I've stuck to that. I haven't done it again. That's been real nice to have not done that. And so that is going to be my resolution for
see, this is what I've been looking for, is a grapple move where I can pull them out of the air, and I can do that now.
Oh, did you just unlock it?
Yeah. I think this is like the last level of this gang. There's 4 gangs, and I'm assuming that there's like 26 missions per gang. Jeez.
Oh, so you're like finishing up the first game.
Yes.
That'd be a good stopping point if you can swing it.
I think I can. Maybe not this time.
But it doesn't feel out of reach.
No.
And hopefully maybe the difficulty will go down, like when you start a new gang for a little bit, and that'll make it easier for you to ease back into the game when you pick it back up.
Yeah, right. Ugh, he's gonna... Ooh. I mean, eating my... He's like, what are you waiting for? I'm like running around trying to get the the juice so I can. Maybe I will beat him.
What did you think about the aspect ratio on the PS3? Or did you think much about it?
I didn't really think much about it.
Because the later systems have a wider aspect ratio, but the FrameMeister, the Firebrand X FrameMeister profiles have a narrower aspect ratio, which seems to pretty much exactly match what the original PS3s do for PS2 games. And while I didn't really make a direct comparison, I would say that the skinnier one is more similar to how it would be on most CRTs, even though that does make certain things not look round, even though they are clearly supposed to be circles or spheres.
Yeah. I don't know. Oh, I can pick up weapons now. This guy's going nuts. This is like the boss, I think. Yeah, he's like really powerful. I need a weapon. I can't hit him. I can't even get to a weapon. Oh, there it is. He dropped it. Have to.
Oh, is there one more mission with the gang?
Yeah, with the boss. I mean, he's hit me with a crowbar. He's killing me this
time. I love how when you like people just like flip so many times in the air.
Yeah. I saw someone in the chat like asking about like their biggest problem right now is like burnout, and I don't know, I think that's like a totally normal thing to feel burned out. Like it's been a little while since I felt like that. I think at this point, like my biggest thing is like I feel like sometimes like with the show and stuff, I feel like I have a lot of stuff I want to do and I almost feel paralyzed. Like what do I do next? But in terms of burnout, I mean, just stop playing games for a while. Like just do something else.
I think for me the biggest problem I have right now is I feel like I so infrequently have time to just play games that like I finish up a big episode and then like I almost just like can't convince myself that it's like okay to not be working.
Right.
For a bit, you know? And that's why I want to like try this daily schedule thing, because it's like then it's like worked into every day, you know? And that's like something to look forward to every day that I just don't get right now. And you know, I think that would be very mentally healthy.
Yeah.
Like, I think my thing is, and, you know, it's possible it might not work that well, but I should try to make it work because, like, I've always, like, kind of gravitated toward doing things in large chunks of time. Like, okay, I'm working on this project today and I'm working on it all day. Or I'm doing nothing but playing Persona 5 all day for 2.5 weeks.
Right.
You know?
I mean, that's like a different like thing than I can really do, I guess.
Yeah, well, you aren't. I mean, you know, with your family and all, you're not in a position to do that. But like, I don't know. I've just always, I can't multitask. I'm not a multitasker, and I don't, you know, do multiple things well at once or change gears very well. And so that's, you know, that like binging on a game all day. Like some people are like, oh man, I couldn't do that. It's just like, man, I don't know. It feels real good.
Really quick, I just want to say like another thing that really helped me is like sometimes people feel burned out when they have like so much stuff to play. And, you know, like one of the reasons like I think that I stuck with games once I kind of got back into them is because of the backlogger. I mean, that it made when I decided, like, you know, I'm gonna finish every game that I start. When I commit to something, that's what I'm gonna play, and I'm gonna play it until I finish. And I think a lot of people feel burnt out on the games because they start a game, and then they play it for a couple days, and then they move on to something else, and like they're never you're finishing anything, never experiencing anything like fully.
Right. Like, I think, like, it's just like, I don't know if I'm feeling this anymore, and you move on to the next thing. But I feel like, for me at least, to, like, truly get enjoyment out of a game, like, I have to have that driving factor of, like, I am getting to the end of this, you know?
Right.
And even if you run into some difficulties along the way, and, you know, something doesn't seem fun for a while, like, I feel like when you really commit to it, like, that's when you find this, like, new level of enjoyment out of it.
Right.
If that makes sense. Like, that sort of commitment to the game. Like, it's like, yeah, it's like you want to see this through to the end no matter what it takes. And when it's just like you're so paralyzed by the choice, and it's just like, well, I don't really have to play this game because I can just play something else. But then, are you really going to commit to that game too? So yeah, like that to me, that's really one of the reasons that I, you know, sold a lot of games that now that I'm doing a YouTube channel, I regret selling them, because, you know, now I like want access to like all these different games I can show in the videos. But one of the reasons I kind of purged a lot of my collection was like, it's like I don't want to feel like paralyzed by choice. Like, I want, like, it's like, well, you know, there's not much else I can play. I'm just gonna play this, I guess, you know. Which in retrospect was a mistake. That wasn't the right approach. But yeah, like,
man, I was like smashing his head with that crowbar. Come on, let's die.
But yeah, like that to me is like having that commitment to a game to see it through to the end, to truly be trying to work through your backlog. That to me, you know, because that feeling of accomplishment of finishing something, you know, is such a satisfying feeling that, you know, and it's like, all right, well, I want to do the next game now.
Yeah. And, you know, you might feel overwhelmed because you're like, oh man, I have 300, 800 unbeaten games. Just one at a time. Just focus on them.
Yeah. I mean, like, for me, like, I still want to reach a point where I can get my backlog. I can, like, keep a backlog in the single digits. I mean, that's going to be years and years and years away at this point.
Yeah.
Because it's worked up so much. But I still, like, I want to keep my backlog managed. And I know for you, like, it's so much more daunting. But it's still, like, you have built up a library of games that's like, you know, maybe I won't get to all of these before I die, but I do know that this game I'm buying now is something I want to play.
Yes.
And you want to see it through. So, and then when you pick one to start, you know, you finish it. You finish it. But you know what? The other side of that too, is, you know, sometimes you do play a game that's just like, this is not worth it to me.
Yes, exactly.
Like, and like, I really don't enjoy this. Like, I do not care about this. For me, I sell those games. Like, if it's a game that I'm not interested in seeing through to the end, I do sell it. It doesn't happen too often because I'm usually pretty good at picking, you know, what I want. But, you know, I think for you probably wouldn't get rid of it at this point, but you also kind of think of your backlog a little differently than I do.
Yeah, I mean, I buy stuff that I like and I want to play. Whether or not I'll get a chance to play them all, right, remains to be seen. But, you know, like, the intention is there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you just bought this game a few days ago, and here you are on mission 29.
Yeah, and, you know, like, it'll stay in my now playing list until I finish it.
Well, you made good progress. I mean, it really does seem like it moves along pretty quickly. I mean,
and a lot of these games, like a lot of games, except for like the 40-hour games, you know, if you play 2 hours a night, you know, if you can muster the desire to play for 2 hours a night, you'll like finish pretty much like besides like RPGs and like, you know, like really like long games. Like, I mean, you'll finish that in like a week.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, and that's something that's like, there are so many like probably like 8 to 14 hour games on my backlog right now. And like years ago, like I would have finished any of those in a weekend.
Right.
And you know, I part of the reason I want to do this schedule is like I can start working through those games again. You know, it's like I feel like so much of what I play now is either like it's like okay, I finished an episode, now I'm going to like play through this game that I just bought. And you know, that might be an RPG, it might be an action game that I was really looking forward to, or something. You know, sometimes it might be long, sometimes it might be short. And then the other thing that I'm playing a lot of these days are like 4 to 5 hour retro games, or you know, maybe a game that I got from Limited Run or something that's, you know, not that long. That's so much of what I'm playing nowadays. And so it's either like I really commit to this big RPG, or I'm just trying to knock this like sub 5 hour game off my backlog. And like it's these like 8 to 15 hour games on my backlog that are really getting me. Because I do have a lot of
But you can beat
RPGs.
those, you know, like if you dedicate the time, you could beat a couple of those in a week.
Yeah, exactly. Like if I made like 3 to 4 hours of free time a night, like I could beat like a normal length action game. I could beat one normal length action game per week.
Right.
If not 2. Like, you know, it really should be
like sub hour 5 as Corpse 413 says, a sub 5 hour game like Panzer Dragoon.
That's what I thought. That's like, what I thought at one time. I no longer think that.
Well, I mean, but if we look at it, you know, like that 24-hour period of time, you know, we finished, between the two of us, we finished 10 games.
You beat 6?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I still can't believe that I finished the Bonk's Revenge at the very end there.
You were like, no, I don't intend to finish it. I'm just practicing.
Yeah. I would love to put those up for people to, like the archive of the marathon, but it's been processing for a week. I don't think it's ever gonna become available, unfortunately. I think it's.
Are you just gonna like delete it at some point if it doesn't?
I'll give it like another week maybe and see what happens.
Yeah.
And I'll delete it if it doesn't.
Yeah, it's too bad.
But you know, it is what it is.
Now Voltar can't go back and look at my
moment of triumph.
My stubbornness.
Oh. Thank you, Blabler.
Inspired.
Blabler with a donation.
Oh,
$2.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did that pop up on the?
It did. We like integrated the Streamlabs.
I might miss it because all of a sudden I got the loading thinger. I hope the stream is up, or I hope it's just me.
Yeah, I mean it looks fine to me. I mean I'm not dropping any frames.
Oh, it came back and I just saw it.
Nice.
Well, thank you, Blade Blair. It feels good that people can finally see it and have been enjoying it. You know, I had much less perspective on what I was creating with this episode than I normally do, because I normally edit it in a pretty linear fashion. I mean, my general workflow for an RGB episode is, you know, after reading the script,
yeah,
is I lay it all out with music. I pace out everything. You know, I pace out the voice, and I pace out the music, and your voice with the music that goes under your part. You know, I pace that all out and sort of get an idea of what the runtime is going to be, and then I go back to the beginning and I start from there, and I'll get, for a section, I'll write down on a list, on a piece of paper, like what shots, what like camera shots, B-roll shots I need to get for a section. I go shoot those shots, I edit them in, and then I capture and edit in the gameplay footage for that section. Then I move on to the next section, the next section, the next section. That kind of breaks it up into these chunks, and I feel like I'm moving, and it's kind of not a bad process. But with this episode, I started off kind of doing that, but then I hit John's section, and I felt like that needed so many specific examples that I was a little intimidated by that section. So I kind of skipped over that and went on to my section after that and finished that. So I had like the intro and Coury's first section, part of John's section done, and then my section. And then from there, because Coury was kind of working on some of his episodes, like I didn't want to really work on the next segments because I knew Coury had so many games that he could record for me, and I didn't want to have my...
Most of those games showed up in John's segment, actually.
A ton of them showed up in John's segment, which worked very nicely. I wanted to get some of your stuff in, so I went to this phase where I was going through the whole video from start to finish, only doing the camera shots. And then I kind of started working backwards, doing the gameplay stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I had a lot of material from you, I kind of jumped back to the beginning and started working forward and finally finished up John's section. And then, the main body of the middle of the video, really kind of happened over the last 3 days. A ton of that happened just the last few days. And just kind of went through it from there. But yeah, it was very non-linear for me. I prefer to generally edit in a bit of a more linear fashion with the episodes, and I didn't like that process as much, and as a result, I had much less of a concept of how it was coming together. Normally, I know pretty well, or I have a pretty good sense of, oh yeah, I think this is turning out okay. With this, I just really didn't know, and I feel like when you feel like you're making something really good, it keeps you motivated. And with this, I just didn't really know.
We run into that problem a lot, though. I mean, once we spend so much time with something, I mean, there's times where that it's good. I always you knew that Game Boy was good.
Yeah.
And I knew that Night Trap was good. And then there's times where you just don't, you have no idea, and you're like, how's this gonna go over? And sometimes you hit, sometimes you miss, and I think that's an important part of what we do. Is we got to get it done, and if it doesn't hit, it's not a big deal. It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean,
the PS2 is going to have as many views in probably 24 hours than the Rhea and Phoebe have had in 2 weeks.
Which was actually a relatively successful video.
Yes, absolutely. But I mean, it's going to have more views in 12 hours than the 2 videos before that have had in a month and a half or more. And that's fine.
I'm looking at the real time views on the PS2 episode, and it's going to hit 20,000 in 12 hours, which is insane.
Puts it ahead of its our record is 22,000 views in 24 hours.
I don't even know what that was. Was that thank you, Andrew.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm surprised it didn't pop up. It should pop up when it does that.
No, at least it did it on the super chat.
Yeah, but it should pop up in the thing. I don't know why it's not.
But yeah, I mean, this episode I knew was going to be worth all the time I put into it, because PS2 has probably been the most requested episode for quite some time.
Yeah. Oh, there it is. Now it popped up. I don't know what the delay was on that, but that's what it is. But yeah, I mean, it's cool to see that it's doing so well, and after it's very feels good for you, because after spending so much time
Yeah, it had to do well.
Yeah. To make
Thank
it.
goodness that's done. Hopefully, moving forward,
Next.
I'll have a much better managed schedule, so that it doesn't turn into this sort of crazy. I mean, and I know I say this every time, but no topic is going to be this crazy ever again, right?
Well,
Surely
I mean,
not.
You never know. You never know. Mine always end up being shorter than yours. I mean, so in terms of like console specific, I think the next one is going to be mine, obviously, unless it's
unless I prioritize Wii.
Yeah, it's
like
gonna
to get it.
It's
done
definitely
like
going to be
March.
either the Wii or the Dreamcast or the TurboGrafx. It's going to be one of those three.
I think we should do TurboGrafx before Dreamcast. Like, I feel like Dreamcast
has some potential with HDMI stuff like before.
Yeah, that, and like I don't know. I just feel like I feel like Dreamcast has a lot of room for potential developments.
Yeah.
And I feel like TurboGrafx, there's nothing crazy that's going to be happening with it anytime soon. I feel like Dreamcast is worth waiting just a little longer on.
Yeah. Because I mean, there's some potential cool things in the pipeline for it. But in terms of TurboGrafx, that's not gonna be crazy. That's not gonna be a crazy episode.
No. It's so cool that we can show so many versions of the hardware too.
Right. Which is like the main thing that's holding us back at this point with that.
Well, you only need like what, one or two more things?
Well, I mean, I gotta really break it down and figure out what I need, and maybe I should just I need to write it down and just go for it.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm almost positive my next one will be Wii that I personally edit. And then after that, probably PSP and Vita.
Yeah, which will be a good one. And then what else?
In a sense, this
then
4K.
Xbox.
Oh yeah, original Xbox. I feel like in a sense, this 4K TV episode will almost suffice as a like getting the best picture out of your Xbox 360 and PS3 sort of, and Xbox One and PS4, and Wii U and Switch, because I mean that will be covered, because there are, you do need to be aware in some sense of like limited range and full range, and those sorts of settings and when to use what.
Yeah.
That stuff I've learned is not as simple as I once thought it was. And that stuff will be covered. And as well as, FrameMeister and OSSC and just some of the considerations there, if you're going to be playing games on a 4K TV. I think there's a lot of interesting topics there. So.
Yeah, I mean, if it ends up, you think it's gonna be an RGB episode? I mean, my presence in that episode will just be like, I'm just telling you this stuff. I do not have any personal experience with it.
Jeff Burns, I have had plans actually for some time to do a episode on the 64 drive.
Yeah.
And that has just kept sliding off because we thought it was originally going to be part of the EverDrives episode, and then I thought it was going to be part of the Super UFO episode. I thought I was going to do like these like two EverDrive alternatives in one episode, and then like I had ended up like putting so much time into the Super UFO and realized that it was going to need its own episode. And so I ended up doing that, and then the 64 drive slid yet again. So I really want to do that.
Yeah.
Like,
and portable EverDrives are coming as well. Hopefully by the end of the year. I mean, it's so stupid it has taken this long because I think I released.
I'm embarrassed about how long it's taken me to get to the 64 drive. Like I'm really frustrated about that.
Yeah.
But I need to get to that. But yeah, there's definitely. I mean, we say this all the time. I like can't even imagine running out of topics ever.
Yeah. It's true. Sometimes you have like stuff that you're like, oh, I just want to do that. Like, I think that my next one might be just kind of I just think that sounds kind of fun thing that's like not listed anywhere. But who knows? I mean, I have a couple of other things I should probably do first, but we'll see what happens.
All right.
It's always such a good feeling to like, do the stream for that week after a new episode comes out, and I really put it to bed,
Yeah. So do our episode debrief, as we used to call it.
Yep. Yeah. Well, all right. We'll see you next week.
Good night.
Good night.